Hello, everybody, and welcome to LRN. Today, really exciting episode. I'm going to be talking about the top 5 things and my hopes for the F1 Manager game, on top of all the announcements that they've given and all the amazing features that we've kind of already been made aware of. I'm going to be going through 5 additional things I want to see from the game that I think would really help bring it to life. I'm sure there'll be updates as with the game through its lifespan, and certainly into the future games as they come out, with hopefully on a yearly basis, maybe a biannual basis, depending on what the development cycle of the game is. But these are going to be the top 5 things I want to see from the F1 Manager game at launch, hopefully soon, this summer, whenever the release date may be. So let's get straight into it. In at number 5, we have the ability to choose the length of races. So by percentage, similar to the F1 game, I want people to have the option, whether it be a 25%, 50%, or full race distance that we would get in the normal F1 Grand Prix. To me, this makes a huge difference. I know in a lot of these games you just have the option to fast forward, and I don't want it to be that regardless of your your interest levels or time investment, that your only choice is to fast forward the race to get to the end quicker. I think that depending on how much time you think you're going to put into the game, you should be able to change how far that race distance is, so that you could, for example, if you're not going to play it that much, you don't have that much time, you can get through the races quickly, you can still get through the seasons quickly and feel like you've got a lot out of the game. But for those of us that really want to put a lot into it and really treat it like you're really truly running an F1 team, and you want to have that full race distance, to think about those tactical decisions. You have to think about those tactical decisions, whether let's say you're a back marking team. Can you go long on the hard tires, hoping for um, a safety car to come out that gives you a free pit stop, so you can sneak some points, or maybe make an extra pit stop at the end to go for that fastest lap and get that additional point. There's so many different things that you could do with the additional race distance if you're someone that's willing to invest that time. So again, I hope that is the case. And certainly for those that don't want to put in that much time, that you aren't forced to do a full length race length distance, and you just have to fast forward through it all, because you are going to miss stuff. And I don't think you get that full level of engagement that you might do by maybe having a 25% race, but you watch it in real time. So we'll see how it plays out. But that is the first thing for me. So getting straight in now to number 4, the ability to modify, maybe through sliders or difficulty settings, how quickly you can get to the front of the grid. Let's say if you start with a back marking team, obviously you could choose to start with, I believe, the Mercedes or the Red Bull, and it would reduce how much time you'd have to spend. But for those people that want to do sort of Road to Glory style challenge, where you start with a Williams or a Haas, for an example, and you want to make them a title winning team, I would hope there'd be sliders, things you can do to impact how long it takes to get to the front of the grid. Certainly for those people again that maybe don't have the huge amount of time to invest in the game, I'm pretty sure that they may still want to do those things and have that feeling of last to first, um, but without having to spend hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours into the game to get there. So, but for me, for an example, I fully intend on putting lots of time into this game. I want to have that full experience. So I'd want that level of difficulty where it really feels like you're genuinely upgrading the car, to get it to that front, and for it to take time and take challenges. But also have the option for other people that are more casual fans, and to engage that more casual audience, to move quicker through that grid, in a quicker amount of time, that still allows them to get that level and feeling of achievement. So, in at number 3, we have the budgets, and I want basically the feeling of the budgets feeling important. Now, we've seen in the normal F1 games where after a while, especially with the My Team, you get to a point where you've stacked up all this money and you've nothing to spend it on, because you've already upgraded all your departments, you've already got the best driver on the grid, everyone's level 100, everything's nearly fully maxed out. So I want there to be a mechanism where every season you are pretty much forced to spend your budget to the max through R&D changes, or technical regulation changes, that you have to spend that money continually investing in the team, with the budget caps maybe coming into that as well. So as you get more to the front, your budget decreases and you have to be more clever about how you spend your money. That sort of level of detail where there doesn't it get to a point where you've just stockpiled loads of money, and then after a certain amount of seasons it just becomes really easy to invest loads in the best staff and the best departments and the best, you know so you're always therefore at the front. You want to have that fear that if you don't make the right decisions, that you will fall down the grid. And I certainly think that having a restriction on budget will go a long way to really bringing that to life. So in at number two, we have intelligent AI opposition teams. I think this is really, really important. You you need to feel as you're progressing through the game that the other teams are actively working at the same level as you to try and stop you from achieving your goal. Because if it feels really easy, if it feels like the other teams are upgrading their departments really slowly, their research is really bad, they're not progressing at the same level a player is, it won't feel very realistic. You really, in my point of view, you want to feel challenged. And again, there may be sliders for this, but you want to be challenged to get to the front, and you want to feel like those decisions you've made along the way are the right ones and have made a real difference in terms of, whether it be sponsorships or tactical decisions, during a race, what you've chosen to develop, whether you choose to develop your car for the following season, invest loads of money, whatever it might be, whatever decisions you make, you want to feel like other teams are making those same decisions, having those same processes in mind, so that you're all fighting, and that you are getting leg up because you've made a slightly better decision than they have, rather than maybe a generic improvement for certain teams, how they, maybe it's predetermined how they will ebb and flow through the game, which I hope isn't the case. I want it to be random, and fully based on the AI, the decisions they make. Maybe they react to you, and maybe that's one way to approach it, so that they will see how other teams develop, and then teams will make their own decisions based on that to protect their own position and looking up the grid to progress further up. But we will see. But certainly, I think it would be really, really cool, and really important to see other teams on the grid with that same level of desire to achieve as you will have as the player. And finally, in at number one, unhappy drivers and a really key morale system. I want to see. So we kind of see it in the normal F1 games now. So you, even regard if they've, let's say they're 100 stat, but their focus is down, you see how badly that impacts them as a driver. But more so than that, I think with the manager game, because you don't have a lot of functionality to use that with other than their performance on track in the mainline F1 game. On the manager game, what I really want to see is, let's say, where you have your number one driver, number two driver. The number two driver is maybe one that feels like they want to be the number one. So maybe because their morale's low, they feel like they're the second driver, they're fed up of being the second driver. They maybe start to want to ignore team orders. If you can, give team orders, they maybe start to ignore them and say, you know what, no, I'm looking out for number one. I want the points. I need to prove a point. Maybe they want to look for a drive elsewhere, so they need to achieve more, and so they start to ignore you. Or maybe they feel like they're getting pressure from a third reserve driver. Maybe you've given your reserve driver a few tests in practice, and maybe that's bringing the morale down of your second driver, who is now feeling like, they're under pressure, and that leads to them, again, that relationship, going sour, getting bad, start falling out with the main driver. Maybe the main driver's morale starts to get hit by that, and you have all these different elements that start to impact on your on-track performance across the team, because even maybe even the engineers in the garage, their morale could start to go down because of the infighting between the drivers, and it could spiral out of control. And you really want to manage that and make sure that everyone within the team is on board, and you're really careful about who you give a chance and when. And maybe, you know, if you're thinking about hiring another driver, you can keep that back and secret for a set amount of time, or what the mechanics would be when you're agreeing contracts, whether that becomes public, whether those things are in the game. I think they could do so many cool things with this. And again, there might be some of these things that they can't quite get ready for the first game that may come out in later games down the line that they've already thought of. But they're the 5 things for me, big hopes for the game that I'd want to see, that I think would really add to the experience and make them really cool. Please let me know in the comments below what kind of features you want to see. What are your big hopes for the game? What do you want to see in the future as well? Where do you think it could lead to in a few years? How big could it go? And, you know, what kind of really cool features could we see down the line? And, you know, hopefully we have the game soon. But make sure you also subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have so much F1 Manager content once the game goes live. Really, really excited to get into this. I've been looking forward to this game and thinking about this game since I was a kid. You know, I've hours and hours put into the Football Manager games, and, you know, going back to the mid 2000 F1 games, I used to, where you could go on and you could have the cars, set them up on the grid however you liked. And I used to do like last to first with Michael Schumacher, and I'd see how long it took him to get to the front of the grid, because you get those proper broadcast races, and it gave me races to watch, really cool ones, in the week between the actual races live on the TV. So I think it's really cool. I'm so excited about this game. I hope you guys are too. And yeah, let me know what you think. Hit a like on the video if you like the content, if you agree with the things that I'm hoping to see in the game. And make sure you hit that bell icon to be notified of all future content, and to be informed when this game does come out, that my F1 Manager content has gone live on the channel. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be back soon with more videos in the near future. Thank you. Goodbye.